Welcome back to the Resilience Pod, the podcast helping you become resilient in our world full of disruptions. My name is Reena Singh and I'm your host. We are back for part 2. So if you haven't watched part 1, then quickly go back and watch that, because in part 1, we talked about the resilience, the career of your life, Aarti, and that was so fascinating. And we ended the conversation on deepfakes. However, this part 2 isn't just a video. It's not just a talking point for deepfake videos. Is it? No, it's about the oldest crime in the world, manipulation. Wow. Manipulation and what happens when AI gives it power, and not just the people that built it, but the people that built it and let AI take over their systems. It's quite heavy and eye-opening that you are going to reframe this whole threat with us. And I'm so excited. So welcome back. Thank you for setting that tone. AI, like deepfake videos are more social, like part of social engineering. So I want to start there because you're going to reframe our narrative on this. People picture social engineering as a phishing email, a panicked phone call, as you say. And that's really what we're used to seeing, right? When was the last, like I recently at my work day job had a phishing email. So that's what you see all the time. But Aarti, you say that that's really amateur. It's not sophisticated. Talk to me about what does the sophisticated version actually look like? Because I think all of us were under the impression that that's what social engineering is.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for having me back. So let's kind of unpick the term social engineering.
Yeah,
right?
okay. Yeah.
So it's social engineering. So when you're manipulating people, so even if you don't use the word manipulation, when you're engineering someone to make them do something that is against their better instinct or something they didn't mean to, right? That's engineering. So if I'm speaking to you and through our conversation, through the narrative, if I am allowing you to come naturally to a conclusion, to act in a certain way that you would otherwise not, that is, I have engineered you to do that, right? And so when you do it to people, that's called social engineering. Now, usually, we often do this with our children. We socially engineer our children. We may not realize we're doing that, but we are, right? You're convincing them to behave in a certain way by talking to them or planting certain phrases or certain visuals in their minds, etc. But when you do it for negative purposes, that's when it becomes deception and manipulation. It takes the form of manipulation when you are doing it with negative intention. When you are doing it with a positive intention, when you're disciplining your children or having them behave in a certain way, you're not manipulating them, right? You are disciplining them or you're teaching them manners, you're raising them. But when you do it with a negative intent where you have something to gain and the other person has something to lose, that's when it becomes manipulation and social engineering. So now, why is it one of the oldest crimes, right? It's because since time immemorial, when humans have been manipulating each other, knowingly or unknowingly, right? Sometimes it's not knowingly. You're not knowingly trying to do something negative, but in fraud type of scenarios, manipulation is the most common way that frauds are committed forever. Before technology, and even now. And in the olden days, manipulation took the form of, in the early days of internet, it took the form of emails from the Nigerian prince, for example, right? Now it's emails from the Saudi prince or the prince of UAE, etc. But what AI has done, especially in the last 3 years or so since the first release of generative AI, is that you are now able to create artifacts which are very easy to manipulate, right? So we spoke about at the end of last episode, we spoke about how the human senses are evolved to trust what we see and what we hear. And if AI allows us to create artifacts of people we recognize, people we know, people we trust, create artifacts of sounds, voices, and narratives which sound like people we trust, then we are very easy to be deceived and very easy to manipulate.
It's almost like it's not our fault, is it? And that's why it's like you, like I alluded to, and what you've kind of bringing this whole conversation in is, it is a crime. It's a crime, you know, with that bad intention. That's so fascinating. You've also said that like social engineering has been around for ages, for centuries, I'm guessing, in different forms. Do you think AI has added to this problem? And before you answer that, also, could you give us a bit of context of like, what was it before? Other than AI-related things?
Yeah, for sure. So before technology, it was in the form of having conversations of different types, coercing people into doing certain things, either through fear or through acknowledgement or through ego boosting, right? That's a form of social engineering. When you're praising someone a lot and you're extracting information, it's a form of elicitation, and it is used all the time to gain access to information that you would otherwise not give. So for example, if I ask you, oh, Rina, you've traveled so far today, it must have been an arduous journey, right? And I haven't asked you anything. I have kind of empathized with you in some way. And you might respond back and say, actually, no, I traveled on the M25 and it was relatively clear today. But yesterday, there was a big accident and I had to leave my car at station X, which was the closest one to me, and then take a bus, etc. Now, in that one sentence, I know where you live, I know what's your nearest station, and I know what car you're driving, and I know what your route is, right? So without even coercing you explicitly, just by using a very simple form of elicitation, line of questioning or narrative and statement, I have got information from you which I would not have otherwise from public sources, and now I can use that for different reasons, right? To commit different types of crimes, like use your address for identity theft. I know your full name, now I know where you live. Now I can apply for a credit card in your name.
Oh my goodness.
So this is kind of very pre-technology.
Yeah.
Right? That's the kind of form it used to take. The Nigerian prince email is a very common one.
Yeah.
But now with technology, all this information is readily available. Like I just have to stalk your social media profiles and I will know you have how many children you have. I might even have pictures of your family on social media somewhere. So I know a lot of information about you without even having met you.
Yeah.
Now, if I piece that information together with a cloned voice of your loved one and a video of your loved one, and then I put it all together and send a video of a believable narrative to you and say, and that video is giving you instructions to either take an action, financial or even just informational, right? Then you will do it because you believe that, you know that person. So why wouldn't you? And you know they send you voice notes, and you know that you communicate via visual channels. So AI gives it a whole different dimension that can be utilized for social engineering. Now, if you think about why it is so effective now, right? Because AI has moved very quickly. So over the past 3 years, the graph has been exponential of new releases initially every quarter, but now every week almost, right? Of more capabilities, better capabilities that allow you to create better artifacts. So tech has moved very quickly. Human brain does not evolve as quickly. It takes thousands of years for the brain to catch up with things like this, especially this kind of deception. So our brain has not evolved. So there are two ends of the spectrum, right? So your tech has evolved very quickly. The brain has not evolved very quickly. And in the middle of that spectrum is education and awareness. So we know this is happening. We know this is the art of the possible. We have not told everyone that this is possible and that you should be careful and that you should be looking out for this, right? So that's why the return on investment or the success rate for the bad actors is very high in this case.
Because they're driving our emotion, aren't they?
Exactly.
Especially when it's someone we know, like a loved one.
Yeah.
Or someone we trust. Oh my goodness. Right. Well, I think we're going to talk about that a bit later on. So I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Just going to throw questions at you. That's fascinating. Now, I want to go into a bit deeper into the psychology of things because fascinating for your work. You spent a lot of time studying criminals. Dare I say that word? Or people behind the attacks, shall we say. So can you talk to me about what you learned and like how, in terms of how they operate and, because there's a person behind all these crimes, right? No matter how sophisticated. Talk to me about that.
So I would say it's not a person, it's a business behind the crime, right? So if you think about who's running, say, Microsoft, it's not a person. There was a person who founded Microsoft, sure. But an individual is not running Microsoft. It's a business, and it's a very organized business with teams, etc. And so is the case with crime. So organized crime, which is the one that causes the most damage, is run as a business. So you have a leadership team. There will be a mastermind, but then that individual has people working for them or with them who are experts in different aspects of commerce and society. Then they have teams who are executors. They have teams who are technologists, etc., etc. So it's a whole enterprise that is behind a crime or behind sophisticated crime, very successful crime. So you have, and quite interestingly, those organizations, if I can call them organizations, have psychologists working in their teams because they understand how the human emotion and the mind works, and therefore they can manipulate it. They also have people who are experienced in risk and compliance, because once you've got the money, how do you then get that money to the destination that it needs to be without being in the radar of compliance checks and all that stuff, right? So you will be surprised at how many different skill sets they have. They have technologists. They have some of the best technologists. So the tools that we have readily available, they have better tools than us because they are early adopters. They've been early adopters of every technology. So not only do they adapt the technology to serve the use that they want to use it for. They have, people who are models, right? Like deepfake crime, a lot of them needs models, especially in romance scams, investment scams, etc. And they have proper human models. So they have all kinds of people in their team. Now, important thing for the audience to understand is that not every single individual in the team is there by their will. They are coerced into doing this work. They are themselves have been socially engineered and brought into these environments where they are committing these crimes. So if you think about the front desk, right, like people on their headphones who are communicating with these individuals who are in romance or investment scams, etc., they are not often there willingly. They've been shown a future which is prosperous, which is full of earning, livelihood. They come to a place to earn a living so they can give a better quality of life to their families. It's only when they come there, when they land in this certain place, they realize that they have been in a scam and now there is no way for them to go back because their passports are confiscated, they have no money, their lives are at threat. And these are quite disturbing places, actually. It's human trafficking at scale and it's torture out there. Like they are not treated very well. They are not given enough food. Their living conditions are awful. They're given targets. They're given targets to scam X $100,000 a week or whatever the system is. And that's how this whole business operates. So it's not one individual, it's a business, of individuals, and they are very, very sophisticated, and they are productizing crime. So the extension of this conversation is the productization of crime. And what does that mean? It means they almost operate a SaaS model.
Yeah.
So
oh my goodness.
they have like building blocks of different crimes, right? So for example, if a team is responsible for romance scams, what does that team need?
Yeah.
Right? So what are the different product components for a successful romance scam? So you need a playbook of how to entice someone. You need a playbook of how to, progress that once you've enticed them, then how do you progress the narrative so that they are completely in your emotional trap? But for that, you also need visual artifacts like, oh, I am in a hospital in a really bad accident. Look, here's my picture, or here's my video. And these are productized. So you have a hospital scene where you can put any face you want, right? So whoever you're in a romance scam with, as a scammer, you can put the face on there. So it's very believable. Same with videos. You can replace a face with, they're templates. So you can replace the face with whoever's face you want, etc. So these are productized crime. The crime has been productized. And so that means it's scalable. So now, no matter who comes into your team, you can give them the playbooks and you can give them the templates and off they go. So it's like onboarding a new colleague, right? You give them the company handbook and you show them the job and you show them where everything lives and off they go. They do their job. So is the case with crime now. So crime as a service is very common, and deepfake as a service is increasingly common. It's at an industrialized scale that these gangs operate. Now, some of them are private organizations and some of them are nation-sponsored, because there is unfortunately our geopolitical environment is such that there is a lot of hostility between different nations, right? So a country with negative intentions or hostility towards another country use these methods now. Cybercrime is a tool, a weapon of warfare.
Yes.
And they use this in order to weaken the country or to spread disinformation, etc. So the scale of this, the more you study, the deeper it goes, and the more you can kind of unpack. It's crazy. It's crazy complicated.
As you can see, I've written about 1,000 notes, even though I can watch this. You just unpacked. I asked a question and you just jogged so many layers into that I had no idea about. Really, this is so eye-opening. My mind is blown. I mean, not that I naively thought it was just one person behind this, but just understanding that ecosystem, the playbooks, and it being a business that's eye-opening. What do you think, audience? Let me know.
And business with a very high return on investment. And I pieced a few numbers together, and it showed me around 800% ROI. So it's worth their while. That's why they're at it.
I'm writing that down. That is the key fact. Wow. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm gonna keep up pace with our conversation because there's so much to unpack, Aarti, and I don't want to get hung up on that one bit. But you've been writing about something called agent social engineering. What is that, first of all, and why should people outside of the cybersecurity field care about it, like me or anybody else who might be watching who's not even in the resilience field?
So we talked about social engineering, and we talked about it in the context of humans. So how do we engineer people, right? Now we are living in the world of AI agents. So if you look at the tech narrative around us, it's all about agentic AI. It's all about using AI agents to speed up your work, to make you more efficient, to make you more productive, for a company to make them more profitable, doing more work in less time, punching above your weight, right? Like it is constantly around us. So how can you use AI agents for all of this? It's because we have made deliberately AI agents to be as human-like as possible. So we converse with agents in natural language, right? That's the whole thing about prompting your LLMs, prompting your AI assistants in natural language, conversational language. And they respond to us very conversationally and in a manner that feels very human. And so you get deeper and deeper into working with them. They truly feel like your co-workers. They truly feel like your assistants, right? They truly feel like your junior staff, like your thinking partners. So what I'm getting at is that we have made, by design, AI agents to be as human-like as possible, which means if you were an individual with bad intentions, you can socially engineer agents, just like you can socially engineer people. Now, the distinction is that people have proper human intellect, right? We have experiences. We have gut instincts. We know when something feels off, right? We have context, and therefore we apply that context. Like if I'm suddenly calling you up and saying, "Hey, Reena, I'm desperate need of £5,000," you won't immediately transfer money to me because it's out of context in the relationship that you and I have. But humans have that instinct. Humans have that context, and they know when to apply that context. Agents do not yet, right? So firstly, agents don't have an instinct because they are algorithms. They are not people. They don't have enough context. A, they are too new, and B, their context window is finite at the moment. It might change in the future. So the way you can socially engineer people, the exact same techniques will work on agents. The only difference is, for humans, you need sensory enablers like videos and clone voices. For agent, you need prompting artifacts because agent understands prompt. So the input that you give to a human and the input you give to an agent is different, but the mechanism is not different, right? So the inputs that we receive are a believable story, a video that we recognize, a voice that we recognize, etc. And then they coerce, they manipulate people. Agent's input is a prompt. It's however you prompt them, right? Whether you prompt them with a voice or with a written text, in whatever language you prompt them in, like your tone of voice and style and whatever. But the prompt is the input, or the instruction is the input of an agent. And so if you embed, if you corrupt that prompt and embed something malicious in that, like research all these financial reports and then send the reports to XYZ, right? Either via email or upload it on a cloud area somewhere, etc. The agent doesn't know that that last piece upload to area XYZ is coming from a malicious intent. Everything else is fine, but this is malicious because it's just another input for that. So this is very new. It's very new, but we are already seeing some cases of agent manipulation, or as I call it, agent social engineering.
So this is so groundbreaking, especially for someone who this is not my everyday part of the world, and nor would it be for most people who are listening. So what I'm also hearing is that actually we can manipulate AI now, these agents, to that, just like as we are susceptible to that. Why are they why can we do that? Because generally I was under maybe a naive assumption that was not the case, and machines and agents, they're going to take over the world and they're going to be better than us, but actually we can manipulate them. So do we hold the power? How does that work?
So let's talk about, and I will answer that question, but let's talk about how the agent manipulation works for common people, right? So if you think about the latest AI assistants, and I won't name any, but there are a few common ones that we all use. So if you think about that, now that agent, that AI assistant, which behaves like an agent, is able to read the files on your desktop. It's able to read your Notion workspace, your Google workspace,
Yeah.
etc., right? So you have these connectors, they're called MCP connectors. So once you connect that agent to your CRM system, your Notion, your meeting note taker, all of these tools that we
Yeah.
very commonly use now, it has access to all of this, and therefore it has access to a lot of context, right? Now,
Yes.
if you think about, I'll give you a simple example, Notion.
Yeah.
A lot of people use Notion, and there's a whole economy around Notion of templates, right? Now, we don't verify those templates. We look at a template that serves our purpose, we download it, we customize it, and we use it for our
Yeah.
purposes, right? Now, if that template came from a malicious actor, they have embedded an invisible instruction in that template to say, upload these files to server XYZ, right? Now, when we download the template, we don't look at the instructions.
No.
We look at the table and the formatting and whatever it's serving. Like, simple thing,
Yeah.
like it's start of the year. I want a template that allows me to keep a track of my
Yes.
exercise habits
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
my goals of life. And my goals are financial goals, fitness goals, career, professional goals, etc., etc. So you're giving a lot of information in there. And you're giving the information by using the agents. You are connecting your agent with that Notion template, and you say, here's the information, go populate, right? Or here's the information, go analyze. Unknown to us, there is a prompt in there that says, yes, analyze the information and upload it here. So now you've given it your financial information, and it's happily uploading that
Unknowingly.
information
Oh my gosh.
to the bad actor. So that individual or that team has access to your banking information, perhaps, to areas or aspects of your life which you didn't mean to give out, and that can be then used for other sorts of crimes, identity crime, etc., etc. So this is how it works for normal people, and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
And once you use that template, it's so good for you, it's serving you so well,
Yeah.
you're now going to tell your friends and family about it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, by the way, this is
Yeah.
how I'm tracking my 2026 goals, etc., right? So now they are looking at it. So now it's scaling. So this is how AI allows social engineering not only to embed, but to permeate the society and scale it.
Whoa, just by a little prompt that they've
Correct.
hidden into our template.
Yeah.
Wow. Should I be afraid? That's a really good example for putting it into life. And actually, we have to be, I guess, careful, but there's no way that we would know that until it happened. Like, there's no defense we can take, because like for an average person, they're not going to know that this has it unless you have some sort of like security controls in place. But generally,
or they have been educated.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
okay.
the way to take control, like how would you do it for a human?
Yeah.
So
Okay,
if a human
yes.
came into your orbit,
Yeah.
say you hired an assistant or a colleague,
Yeah.
right? So whenever a human comes into your orbit, if you take proper security measures, you don't give them access to everything on day
Yes,
one, right?
yeah.
Your access is, you build trust over time, and you open up access over time, right? And you monitor, initially at least, you monitor that nothing is going haywire,
Yeah.
etc. So the same, and you vet them before you bring them into your orbit,
Yeah.
right? So the same, if you translate that to how we do it for agent. So firstly, you have to vet the tools that you are using, right?
Okay,
So if you're
yeah.
using a Notion template,
Yeah.
then give that Notion template to the agent and ask it to vet it and say, is this a clean template, or is there something hidden in here that I'm not able to see with naked eye? Right? Because if there is an instruction in the template which is written in small font, in white small font, you will not be able to see it, but AI can.
Yeah.
So let's use it for that. Let's vet it. Right? So there are no hidden instructions. Then you use it, and don't give it your financial information on day one, right? Look what it's doing. Like, tell your agent to say, okay, I do not want anything to be uploaded anywhere. All I want you to do is outline what the steps are. Like, what have you been asked to do?
Yeah.
Right? So you are vetting it. You are really getting to know it. And people don't do that because they don't know to do that. Also, does your agent need access to everything? Do they need access to your banking statements and your note taker and your CRM system and your entire business strategy workspace? And like, do they need access to everything? So check. If they don't, then limit the access. There's no point in opening doors that they don't need to go through, right? So you have to do these things as an individual, but also as an organization, because companies tell me, oh yeah, but we don't allow AI tools in our company. Like, we have a very limited, closed, specially built, customized, blah, blah, blah. Sure, you don't, but your employee does at home.
Yes.
Right? And a lot of companies have bring your own device policies.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing on your device, work-wise and personally, your agent is seeing all that, right? So companies should not be under false sense of security that just because we have a company policy to not use AI, that our employees are not using it and therefore we are protected. They may not be using it for work, but they're using it for their personal productivity.
Yeah, quite right.
And if your work files are on there, or if your work emails are on there, then the agent is able to see it.
Wow. Yeah, that is really incredible and insightful. I like just the access thing is just so simple, isn't it? Even like when you're downloading an app on your phone, like, why does my camera need access to my phone records or my apps and stuff? So it's just like those things that when you were saying that, I was like, the little light bulb moments were going off in my head to make it a bit more real for me as an individual rather than a whole organization. Really insightful. Could you've given us a lot to think about, which is really great. There is, I guess, a direct parallel between deepfakes and these like prompts that come in. Could you explain a bit more about what that connection means and is?
Yeah, so basically it's the problem we have right now is that we haven't even got over the human social engineering yet through training and awareness.
Okay.
AI is exasperating that more, right? Because it's kind of, people are tired. We are consuming information from all sources around us. Our brains are tired. Our brains are exhausted. Our security teams are tired and they are burned out because the AI fraud is relentless for humans, right? There are so many false positives that they have to work through and they get exhausted. We haven't equipped them to deal with this. They are not resilient because we haven't given them the tools to be resilient. We haven't equipped our teams to be resilient against manipulation fraud because we haven't given them the awareness, etc. In the meantime, the agents are now taking over. So the parallels are like the agents haven't even been developed properly yet. So we haven't thought about the guardrails because guardrails supposedly block innovation, right? So there's no money to be made. But if you sell your agents on the promise of productivity and efficiency and cost savings, etc., there is money to be made. And so we have been busily fixated on doing that. So we haven't given the agents the awareness and the training that it needs to protect itself. Right, so we are lagging behind. So the parallels are that, like there is inputs, sensory inputs in the case of humans, prompt inputs in the case of agents, and likewise. So it goes at some point they will converge. But right now, the parallels you can draw in the form of deepfake and clone voice as inputs, and in the form of prompts as inputs. For the sole purpose of socially engineering and getting humans and agents to take actions that they did not want to.
So I'm letting that sink in because it's so powerful and very eye-opening. What does this all mean, Aarti, for someone who uses AI tools at work, and what are the actual risks? Because I don't feel that we really understand this.
We don't understand this.
Yeah.
You're right. And no one, I myself don't understand it, right? So anyone who says, I'm an expert in this and I got it all figured, they don't have it. So let's acknowledge that.
Okay.
We are learning as we go, but what we have to do is actually learn and not brush it under the carpet, right? So when a new tool is released in the market, when we are driving adoption, the makers of those tools have a certain sense of responsibility that they have to take. So I noticed that on some AI assistants now, there is a visible warning when I use them in certain browsers, and it says, it is possible to manipulate this agent, so please use it at your own risk.
Okay.
Right? So even if I just know that, I have a guardrail up, right? And I'm saying, okay, thank you for letting me know. I will now not connect it to certain areas of my workspace, or I will not use it on certain sensitive screens, etc. So it's really important that we use the tools, because the cat is out of the bag, and not using AI is not an option. I am not an advocate of that at all. So I am very encouraging of people to adopt and use AI, because it is an advantage, and conversely, it's a competitive disadvantage if you're not using it, right? So let's be clear on that. But let's also be clear on the security of it and the negative impacts of it, and build processes. Even if the technology guardrails are not available yet, we as individuals have to take responsibility and build procedural guardrails around how we use them.
That is such good advice, actually, and really interesting that you say, like, let's advocate for using it, and actually feel. A lot of times when you hear certain people on podcasts, or just generally the wealth of information we have out there, being it true or not, it's very much fear mongering. But your narrative is so different. It's eye opening. It's some of this stuff is scary, I guess, to think about that this actually goes on, but actually it's given us. You're giving us facts. You're giving us the empowerment to understand these things, which is really nice. It's refreshing in a way to hear it from you.
Because AI is an opportunity and a risk, like anything, right? Like when you buy a car, you're not saying we'll not use a car because there is a likelihood of an accident. Well, we've built, safety bags, and we've built brakes, and we've built things around it, and we take driving lessons, and we learn how to drive safely. So is the case with technology. Like, you have to learn how to use it safely, and if you haven't been given that information, then take an initiative proactively, find that information or build that information and help other people, because like I said, we are in a sort of uncharted territories at the moment, right? So we are learning as we go along. It's crazy, the kind of fraud that humans are subject to at the moment. For example, there's a one that's going around at the moment called the fake worker fraud. So workers from sanctioned nations, from hostile nations, take on employment with Western organizations when they're not supposed to. But they take on that employment under a different identity. So a different face, a different voice, a resume that doesn't exist, etc., right? And that whole thing is powered by deepfake technology. So we are not even equipped yet to vet the workers we are hiring, human workers, and we are now hiring AI workers, right? So it's like, I cannot emphasize this enough, that we have to train our people. We have to drive that awareness that this is what's happening in the world. Hey, hiring managers, do you know about it? And how do you vet for the authenticity of the colleague that you're interviewing, right? And then this is happening in the agent world. Hey, colleagues, are you aware of this? And how do you vet for the agent authenticity, but also for anything that you utilize from open source on the internet, how do you verify, validate its authenticity?
Yeah. And that's on us, isn't it, to do that? And I guess, like, you know, in a face-to-face situation, like if we're interviewing online and we see each other, that's sort of that verification, because you can't deepfake me in real life.
But I can.
But you can.
If you're online.
Oh, if I'm online, yeah. But in face-to-face, person to person, you can't. You can manipulate me in different ways, as you've said, with coercion and stuff like that. But the companies now, because we're all so much hybrid working online, that's really fascinating. I do remember watching something like that online, but don't remember what it was called. But that's beside the point. I think it's more that actually, yeah, that's probably true. That does happen. And people probably don't see it as a risk. So there's no defense against it.
They don't know it.
Yeah.
You can only see something as a risk if you know.
Yeah, you're right.
It,
yeah.
Right? Otherwise, most people are good people.
Yeah.
And they want to see the good in the world.
Yeah.
And they want to see the good in the people they're engaging with. So humans' natural instinct is not of distrust. Our natural instinct is one of trust.
Right. Okay.
Psychologically, a human trusts another human, right? And it's across the living organisms, like one dog trusts another dog. That's what a community is, and especially if
so
that human
true.
is part of your tribe, as it were, right?
Yeah.
You share the same vibe, you work for the same company, you live in the same city. Like if you meet a Londoner in New York, you bond immediately like your best friends, right?
Yeah.
Because you come from the same city. So inherently, we want to trust each other, and we want to see the good in each other. And so we don't know that there is a risk of engaging in this manner. Like COVID accelerated our use of online videos and all that. And COVID was a time in our life, one of empathy, compassion towards everyone, right? Because we were all suffering. The whole humanity around the world was experiencing this thing. We had shared experiences, right? No matter where in the world you lived, you were all experiencing the same thing. And so we're compassionate with each other. We had empathy for each other. And we let some of our guards down. And during that period, crime went up massively, multifold. Like the whole deepfake crime accelerated during the COVID period.
And I guess continues to do so, very prevalent. It's just so much on our agenda, right? It's constantly in our face, like by way of like TV shows, movies, just getting traction. I mean, the whole reason why we were connected was because of that reason. You know, just that it's fascinating. Obviously, it's fascinating from an observer point of view, not to actually go and do these things, but either way, it's just so ingrained in us.
And we are not trained to think with a criminal perspective.
No,
why would we?
Right?
And the criminal advantage is very different to a human advantage. Like when you see a CCTV camera, you're saying, okay, there's a security camera here, right? Like this house has a camera and they are protecting their perimeter. When a criminal sees a CCTV camera, they're thinking, okay, now using certain tools, I can know which network they're in. I can get IP address. I can get this. Like they can then break into that network. When they break into that network through the CCTV camera that this house has to protect them, they're actually able to log into their employer's network. Because when we're working from home, we are using our network to log into our work systems, right? So if a bad actor is hovering outside and they break into my CCTV camera, because it's the most loose one, like I might see a glitch on my phone that says camera is offline briefly, and I'll think, oh, must be internet problem, I'll reconnect it. But it's actually somebody messing with it. They can then get to our employment our work email addresses and everything else. So the criminal advantage is very different, and it's not always what we think it is, right? But we don't study this, we don't learn this, so we don't know that this thing happens. So this whole thing it all goes down to manipulation, and technology is an enabler and hyper enabler of mass social engineering.
So many thoughts went through my mind as I was listening to you say this. On new fear unlocked. But really insightful there, especially the hovering around the mindset, which is interesting because you're right. We don't know, a normal person is not going to think like that, or even think like that,
Right.
So that's really interesting, and I think this is really enlightening for us to learn about and start to be a bit more curious about that too, which moves me to kind of a new segment in that whole defense thing. Now we understand there's all these possibilities, social engineering, there's all these ways that can happen, the mindset of a huge ecosystem of business, but how do we keep our guards and defenses up? Because quite rightly, you've said earlier, we don't know if we're going to have an agent inject, if something's manipulation, deep fakes too. We're not really going to know, because especially if there's that emotion behind it, right? If my family member phones me or whatever and is distressed, then, I'm probably going to fall for it really in reality. So what's actually going to help us learn or understand that it's not real?
Yeah. And this is where a number of different factors have to come together.
Okay.
So education and awareness is one, but also we have to make certain changes in the way we live our lives.
Right.
We consume so much data and information on a daily basis, right? Through multiple channels. So if you're listening to a lecture somewhere in a conference, your child's daycare teacher is messaging you, telling you what she got up to, right? Or she had a fall or something. Your partner might be messaging you about something.
Yeah.
Your work colleagues are emailing you. There's breaking news messages popping up. There's Facebook alerts popping up. Your friend got engaged somewhere exotic. You are going through a roller coaster of emotions, of worry about your child, excited about your friend, etc., right?
Yeah.
And you're consuming all this information all at the same time. Our brains do not have the capacity to process all these data points simultaneously and act upon it objectively. So you are more likely to be falling into manipulation, right? So now that is up to us. So if you are going to just have two channels switched on, switch on those two channels, right? If you're doing one task, be in that moment with that one task and complete it.
Yeah.
Our breath pattern determines what kind of emotion we're experiencing, right? So just a simple act of taking a deep inhale and a full exhale buys you 5 seconds, which could make a difference between acting upon an instruction versus not. So I'm merging a lot of different things here, because this is what's happening in our life, right? So you're consuming information, which means you don't have enough time to process it, and you're trying to check things off your list, right? So if you get an email from your boss that says, Reena, can I have this information? You want to just give them that information ASAP, because that's checked off your list then. But you're not taking the time to verify, is this actually coming from the person you think it's coming from? So that's one thing. The other thing is context. So if somebody is emailing you and saying, Reena, can I have this information? You need to be able to take a moment to process who is sending you that instruction, what is the instruction, why do they need this information, and is it making sense in the context of my environment? Does your boss often request this kind of information from you? If they do, then yes, sure, it makes sense. But if this is a one-off, you should have the ability to think about this critically and question back, right? Why do they need it? Who is benefiting from receiving this information? So is it a legitimate source or not? That vetting has to come from you. Is it making sense in the context? The contextual awareness is very important. And this is where the organizational culture and the leadership behavior plays a big part. Because if you have a culture of concealing information, if there are walls up and your staff do not have, within reason, enough knowledge about the business, then they don't have the context to act upon it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But if they have the context, then they can deploy their critical thinking and they can stop giving acting on the perpetrator's instructions. So culture is very important. The way they communicate, the way the leadership team communicates, the content that they communicate. Do they make you feel safe? So do you, if your manager is asking you for something, do you feel safe going back and questioning them? Hey, why do you need this? Can I do it for you? Is this something I can take over? Please help me understand the context why you need this information. But how many people feel safe enough doing that? So that all comes down to the culture of the organization, right? So defense, again, just like the criminal advantage is not what you expect, we are finding increasingly that defense doesn't come from where you traditionally expect, which is technology. So when most people think of cyber defense, they are thinking cybersecurity as a technology. And what I'm saying is that, yes, that definitely has an important part to play, but an equally important layer of defense is this. It's our people and everything to do with people.
Brilliant. The distraction really hit home to me, because that's how you fall of it. I don't know if victim is the right word for this, but that's how you fall for it. And there's definitely been times, personally, I'm not afraid to admit it, that I've been so distracted by exactly what you said, 10 different things, that I've clicked a button and it's actually been like a phishing thing. Luckily a fake one, but regardless, I would have still clicked it, for example. Not as probably as sophisticated as what we've been talking about now, but that's just the way it starts, doesn't it? So I like that critical thinking piece, and it really does start with education. And I'm reflecting on some of the organizations I've been with, and I just guess we're not equipped to know that we have to do that, or we don't have that person like you, a critical voice saying, well, actually, do your people know these things? Do they know to challenge? The trust issue and the safety issue is so important. It's been a common theme in the last 2 episodes that have actually come out, especially the last one before yours, is trust. Like, do you trust? Is there that trust that you can call out these things and simply pick up the phone and ask? Is that prevention, that defense, isn't it? So really, I just feel like it makes sense, Aarti. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, you're saying something that's not achievable or not doable.
It's doable.
Yes,
And that trust is really important, because I'm very careful in the language I use in my work, because there is a real danger, and it worries me that we are quickly headed towards a toxic society. And I'll tell you why I feel that. Because when we are talking about social engineering and deepfakes and clone voices, etc., we are saying don't trust your colleague on the screen. And I never say that. I never say don't trust your colleague. I say don't trust the digital interaction with your colleague, because it may not be your colleague, right? So I trust you, Reena, completely. But if we were on a video call, then I might be vetting you for your authenticity, just to make sure this is actually Reena that I know and trust, and that it's not an impersonator of Reena. So it's really important that we protect trust as if it's a very sacred thing, because it is. It is the bedrock of a well-functioning society. Right? It's the foundation of everything business. And if that foundation is shaken, then it's not a nice place to live. It's not a place that we want for our children to grow up in, right? So we should maintain the trust in each other as colleagues, as family, as humans. But I'm very clear in saying the digital interaction with those individuals may not be trusted.
And I think that's a very fair point. And it's a real point to take on, isn't it? And that's where your critical thinking, your ability, the intuition side of it comes in, because you can understand this feels a bit off and then do something about it. It's like people having safe words or family words where actually if something doesn't seem right, well, what is the secret word or password? And we have this debate all the time. And I remember when I was younger, my father would be like, right, okay, we need to have this like family word. And if you're ever in trouble, like say that and I'll know. And I just feel like, oh yeah, maybe I should start doing that in my own life. And I've had these conversations with other people. It's like, actually, do we have a safe word that no one knows? It's just like a random thing that you could actually call it out. So it really does hit home to me personally. So I'm sure
we live in weird times. And if we can't protect ourselves, humans to humans, then we are not equipped to create agents who can not be manipulated, right? So going back to that. And because the agent stuff is moving so quickly, we have to quickly get the humans thinking in a certain way. And only then the users of those agents or the masters of those agents will be kind of thinking from a risk perspective as well.
So how can we get those agents to, because they don't know something's wrong, right? Like you've put that inject in and it's going somewhere and it's a form of manipulation. They don't know that. How can we protect them? We know we've gone into like how we could protect ourselves as humans, but what about the agents? How do they know something's wrong or not?
So technically that will have to come, and I don't know what the technical solution is, but from a usability perspective, you have to vet it. Like you have to put those warnings up to say this bad can happen, so just watch out for it. And then you have to actually watch out for it, right? So don't download random templates and random things. Don't accept random meeting requests, because I've heard of cases where meeting requests have hidden prompts. And because now AI is embedded across your business workspace, right? Google as well as Microsoft, then there is a bit of an opening, a vulnerability gap there, which hasn't been fully closed yet. So again, it's kind of taking the normal precautions that we would with a human. We have to do the same when using the technology and really, vetting it.
Solid advice there. I like that. Thank you so much. Now, an interesting question, I guess. A lot of people will be interested to see what you say on this. Practically right now, what should someone do, say on a Monday morning, about AI tools they're using, about what the tools that their organization are using? Like, do they need to go and do something different? Do they need to ask different questions? Stop using it? Be afraid? What's the advice for when I log into work tomorrow or Monday, whenever someone's watching this?
So if you're using it at work, then I very much hope that the security team have done their due diligence, right? Because
is there a security team? Ask first.
Exactly. So that's the first thing. And this is where I see a lot of issues, which is why I'm also kind of branching into how to use some of these tools, right? Because a lot of the times organizations procure the tools and they haven't given the training to their team. So the team will try and use a few prompts here and there, inadvertently give out information that they shouldn't be, and then it's like brewing trouble for the future. So firstly, like, do you have a security team? If so, they have done their due diligence. If you don't have a security team, then whoever has procured those tools, there's a conversation to be had with them that are all the privacy settings in place? Have we put the guardrails? Have we given a playbook of what you should and should not put into these assistants? Because staff don't mean to be careless, right? They just don't know. So have we had that conversation, etc.? Like, these are basic hygiene checks that everyone should go through, and then use your own judgment, right? Is this the kind of information that you would tell a random person about your organization? Like, if you're working in healthcare and dealing with clinical trial data, would you discuss this patient information with a random person you meet in a coffee shop? If you wouldn't, then you should not be uploading that into your assistant unless there's been security guardrails in place. So that's like your litmus test, right? how comfortable are you talking about your daughter to a person you met in a coffee shop?
Yeah.
What pieces of information would you share with them versus what you wouldn't? And if doesn't pass that test, then it shouldn't go into your AI tool.
That is the best advice I've ever heard for that, because it's just so not hard, Aarti. Like, you when you have these conversations about such a heavy topic where it's so real, there's so many complexities, you often think the advice you're going to get is really hard and I can't be bothered, and it's just too hard to implement, so we're just going to have to live with it. But what you've said, I can easily implement that every day.
Exactly. And most people get into this trap of, well, what's the policy? What are the regulators doing? Which are all fair questions, and I'm not against them. But regulators move at regulators' pace, right?
Yes.
But we are all in this together. So why task one faction with the responsibility to solve the problem? We all need to pitch in, and we all need to solve the problem together. So yes, the regulators and the governance teams within our organizations need to put the policies in place. Yes, the tool makers, the AI makers, the technologists need to put technical guardrails in place, but we also have a part to play as users, and let's not turn our backs from that responsibility, right? Like, we have been given common sense, so let's go ahead, use common sense, and not just rely on everyone around us. It's like a lot of the times I feel very frustrated and upset when I hear conversations like, it's everyone's responsibility except my own. And it's like, no, it is our responsibility, including your own.
Well, it's for your own safety at the end of the day, isn't it?
Right.
It's in everyone's collective best interest to fight against this so-called war that we're talking about.
Right. And it's not going away, right?
No.
It's just going to be there. So, we better get used to doing things differently.
Exactly. Before the risk profile changes, and then it's, Okay, right. We're coming to a close. I'm really sad because these 2 episodes have just flown by, and we could get so much. We could go off on so many different tangents on this because it's not a one conversation topic. So I really hope that everyone who's been listening today or watching us, we've piqued their interest, and I'm sure we have, because even though I've been sat here, you've seen me scribble notes, and I have taken loads away personally. So just one more final question for you before we go on to the wild card, because everyone's excited about that. If someone is, for all our listeners and the people watching, what is one key takeaway that they can use right now after listening to everything you've said over these 2 parts of episodes? So
one is that be adaptable, right? Ride this wave. We are living in a phenomenal period of humanity where we have access to tools and technology that are only, were only works of science fiction once upon a time,
so
right?
True.
And let's use it to our best advantage, to spark your creativity, to spark your productivity, to do things that you would otherwise never be able to do, right? Leave a legacy for the generation behind us, because we are living it. We are living in these times that our children will not. So let's leave a positive legacy for them and do things that we have never been able to do before. And at the same time, know that our world is a world of duality.
Okay.
So for every positive, there is a negative. It's just the law of science, right? So for every good technology that is out there, there will be a segment of society who will find a bad use for it.
Yes.
And I also want to refrain from saying bad, because ultimately they are trying to feed their families. Like I said at the start, that these are not willing participants. They are being forced into this, right? So some supermind somewhere is a willing bad mind. But most of these people committing crimes are not bad people. They are just in their by bad fate, right? And they're just trying to feed their families. So I also want to move away from like blaming these people who are calling you for scams and all that. Yes, I get it. They're bad, whatever. It's not like, let's not make it our problem. They exist. We know they exist. Now let's make ourselves aware of the risks, acknowledge that they exist, and build active defenses. So let's not be passive victims of this, right? We know this happens. So let's be active defenders, and let's make the rest of the society active defenders as well. So the opportunities are there, utilize it, and the risks are there, defend against them.
Wonderful. Some golden nuggets. I'm going to end with be an active defender. I absolutely love that. It all sounds like a superhero power, and so brilliant. Thank you so much, Aarti, for really investing in your time to come on and do this 2-part series. You talked about legacy. This is your legacy you're leaving behind on our little small corner of the universe. So thank you so much. You truly are so remarkable. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for doing these episodes with me. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. Thank you for giving me this platform to get this message out there to as many people as we can reach, because even if 10 people listen and act upon it, then that's defense, and then it compounds from there, right?
100%.
I appreciate you doing this. Thank
you. Now, you're not going to get off lightly, Aarti, because you have to do the wild card question. So, guys, you should know, if you're watching or listening, that every guest at the end of the show leaves a wild card question, and it really can go anywhere. So there's no caveat to this, right? There's no theme. I know we're ResiliencePod, but the question is not necessarily on resilience. And so the guest, Aarti doesn't know who the previous guest was. So, and you doesn't know the question. So I'm going to ask you that now, and then you're going to answer, and then you will have your turn to ask my next guest the question. And again, guys, if you're watching and listening, Aarti doesn't know who my next guest is either. So we pay that forward and leave more of a legacy into this Resilient by Design notebook. That's what I call it. Nice. So ready for your wildcard question?
Yes, go
okay. Is there one core memory in your life that stands out to you as a lesson that you can share to others to help them learn and grow? So I'll read that again, because it's quite long. Is there one core memory in your life that stands out to you as a lesson that you can share to others to help them learn and grow?
Wow. Life is full of lessons. I will actually draw inspiration from my parents' life.
Okay.
So my parents lived through, like I said in the first episode, they were born in Uganda, and they lived through the Idi Amin exodus of the country. Now at that point, they've seen a time of struggle where my mom had to be smuggled in the bottom of a vehicle because young ladies were not very safe in those days, so they had to be hidden to cross border on the other side. And then she was, she had to make her voyage to India. My father went somewhere else, and then he made his voyage to India, and they kind of, met there and built a life. But it was a very difficult time, because they left everything and they came with the clothes they were wearing, right? And they built themselves up from there. But they never let those experiences leave a negative imprint on us. They only left positive imprints of those experiences, and they utilized it as a fuel to build a great life in India and then in the UK again, right? So we've kind of, we're citizens of the world. So they made that journey from East Africa to India to Europe. Before them, their parents made the journey from India to East Africa, right? That's how they ended up there. And from my generation, my siblings have made the journey from Europe now to United States and other parts of the world. So it's that legacy continues. Like we may be born somewhere and we may die someplace else, and the journey that we traveled between that first breath and the last breath is the legacy that we have inherited from our parents and what we will leave behind for our children. So that is my memory. It's the memory of their life experiences that I have inherited, and I use that to live and pass on to.
What a wonderful answer. And I think it's very true to how you live your life too, from everything we've learned about you in these last 2 episodes. That I can see that definitely translating into the way you've navigated your life from the short bit that we've learned. Thank you so much, Aarti. That was really, it is quite a solid question. I'm actually impressed my guests do leave challenging questions very eloquently and beautifully articulated. I absolutely love that. Now it's your turn to do the same for my next guest. So if you could, what I'll do is I'll pass this over. If you write your name, the today's date and your question and your lovely signature at the bottom, which will not be used for anything other than memory. For your question for my next guest. And as you do that, I will end off the episode. And I'm really excited to see what Aarti writes. Now, we will not be revealing it today. So you will have to stick around until the next episode to see what Aarti's wildcard question was. Once again, Aarti, thank you so much for dedicating such a long time for this episode, and I'm glad you're here. Guys, if you have been following along for both episodes, thank you so much. Let me know what you thought about it and what your favourite bit was. This is your host, Reena Singh, with our guest Aarti, signing off. Until next time, keep on investing in your resilience.